Hello, true health seekers. Today's episode is fantastic. We're about to get to it, but first I wanted to do a little bit of an update for the contest. I have enjoyed reading your emails, reading your reviews that you've left on iTunes. Thank you so much. I'm personally going to write back to each and every one of you, and thank you. I've really loved your feedback. So thank you so much. This is why I do this podcast, is so that I can touch your lives. I can help. If I can bring naturopaths and holistic health healers onto a platform where you can listen and it can impact your life and your family's life and your friends that you share this podcast with, then it's a ripple effect, and we can bring holistic health medicine to a place where people are going to use it first rather than just run to drugs and surgery, which isn't always the answer, as you know, because you are listening to this podcast, the Holistic Health Podcast. So thank you so much for your feedback. I've just loved it. I've been getting together this box of goodies that I'm going to be sending one of you. That's the contest. That'll be happening this Friday. I'm going to write everyone's name down on a piece of paper and do a random draw live on Friday, and that'll be Friday's podcast. So stay tuned for that. Please, if you've enjoyed this podcast, if it's made a positive impact in your life, share it with someone who you know would benefit from holistic medicine. This is my mission, is to get this information out there and help as many people as we can. So thank you so much. We launched the contest Friday. It just came to me since I've been listening to so many podcasts over the last 10 years, and I've heard a lot of other podcasts do this, where they'll do a fun contest and for those who choose to give a rating on iTunes. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to make it just the best contest ever, because I'm going to pick my favorite supplements and herbal teas, really delicious ones, and essential oil, and put it all together in a package that's going to be worth $100 or more, and send it to one of you. But all of you, thank you for giving me the ratings and reviews on iTunes, because that also helps this podcast get discovered by other people, which again will help so many more people gain health. So thank you so much. And this next episode is phenomenal. I was really excited to get this guest on. She's going to be back several times to teach herbal medicine and essential oils, which has been one of my favorite forms of herbal medicine for many years. And then later this week, we have a really controversial topic that I'm excited to shed some light on. So stay tuned, listeners, and have yourself just a beautiful, fantastic week. It's so, where I am, it's so beautiful and sunny. This spring is in full bloom, and I hope it is where you are too. Welcome to the Learn True Health podcast. I'm your host, Ashley James. This is episode 26.
So I have these ladies. One lady told me her pain level from a scale from 0 to 10, that it was clear up at a 10. She was in excruciating pain. The other lady, I believe she told me it was an 8. So I put the first oil on them, which was the blend to be at peace, and I brought their pain level down about 4 points, each of them. And just from a few seconds of being on their body. Then I had time to do one more oil, and one woman, I believe, got completely out of pain, and the other one had brought it down from like an 8 down to a 2.
I'm really excited for today's guest, Leiann King, originally from California, now lives in Utah with her family. She is a farmer's wife and a homeschooling mother of 9 children. She has spent the lifetime learning and exploring natural and alternative living. She's an advocate for home birth and natural parenting, birthing 5 of her 9 children at home with the support of her loving husband. She's a certified Master Herbalist through the School of Natural Healing, an expert in the therapeutic uses of essential oils, and has begun practice in the field of iridology. She's a raw food enthusiast and believes in the enhanced spiritual benefits of eating close to the land. I absolutely love that. Leiann, thank you so much for being on the show. I'm really excited for everything you're going to teach us today.
Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. Now, I've invited you here today to talk about the powers of essential oils, although you could probably do 20 podcasts with us just teaching us, scratching the surface of everything you know. But before we get into it, could you please share with us your website and maybe do you have a book or do you have an email list that our listeners can follow you if they'd like to learn more?
Yes, my website is leannking.com. And my name is sort of spelled differently. It's LEIANNKING.com. And I do have another website called, it's just a page that you could go download. I have a 160 page ebook that teaches them all about essential oils. And it's called foundationalaromatherapy.com/ebook, foundationalaromatherapy.com/ebook. And they can download that ebook for free there. And that will automatically put them on my email list if they download that ebook. And I do have a organizational Facebook page that is just Leiann King on Facebook. And there you can post aromatherapy questions and I would be happy to answer them for you.
I have been so impressed by you, following you and learning from you the last few years. I got to go to one of Youngevity's conferences and I sat in on one of your classes. I was amazed at what I learned. And for those out there who don't know what essential oils are, can you just pretend like we all don't know what essential oils are and just give us the basics? What are they? Why are they so important?
All right. Well, some people call essential oils the lifeblood of the plant, but that isn't really true. There's not, there's only a small percentage actually of the plants out in the world, probably less than 10% that have essential oils. And essential oils are found in little tiny sacs, or sometimes they're found in little what we call containers. For example, if you take an orange and you peel it and you squeeze that peeling, orange oil will come out of those pores, out of the peeling of the orange. And essential oils in plants serve many purposes. They are communication devices. Actually, they have proven that plants talk to each other by releasing their aromas, and they could actually warn other plants that predators are coming to eat them. They are used to attract other insects to them for pollination. They are used to repel insects, and they are used to help fight bacteria and fungus on the plants themselves. And so they do have quite a variety of purposes. And how we get essential oils out of the plants, there's usually two main ways. There's 4 different ways, but the 2 main ways most people are used to is steam distillation. And that's where we go and we pick a huge amount of plants and we put it in a container, a cooker, sort of similar to if you were going to steam some broccoli. If you were going to steam some broccoli, you'd have a pan and you'd put the little rack in the bottom there and you'd have water underneath it and you would pile all that broccoli on top. Well, the same thing goes for essential oils. You have a cooker, you have the water in the bottom, you pile the plant matter on top, then you put a very tight lid, and in that lid is a hole with usually a copper tubing. And what happens is the steam goes up through that plant matter, and that steam opens up those sacs that hold those essential oils, and the essential oils then evaporate with the steam and go into that copper tubing. And as they go down through the copper tubing, they condense back into a liquid. And then they float on the top of the water that's collected in the container next to usually the distiller. That is, and then we draw off the essential oils that floats on the top. Now, essential oils are not really true oils like we think of with almond oil or coconut oil. They are a lipid acid. We just call them an oil because they float on top of water, but they are not really an oil like we think of. And then the other way, it's the same as I taught you just about with the orange peel. And this is called cold pressing. And this is done mostly with peels from Citrus fruits, they run the fruit through big giant graters that peel off just the colored part off of the peeling, and then that is gone through a presser that presses the essential oils out.
So we've extracted oil that has significant healing properties from the plant.
Mhm.
What what next? Like, do we look for quality? Is every sort of brand the same? Do you want to go organic? Like, what are the things we need to look for when buying essential oils?
There's a few things that you want to look for. You want to make sure that you have access to. Now, not always is all of this information on the bottle because, for example, in longevity, they wanted the bottles, the labels were looking really, really cluttered. And so we have little cards that go now with the bottles of essential oils that have a lot of information on them. And then you can also find information on the website. But the things that you're looking for is you are looking for that the Latin name is on there. And some people may think, well, what's so important about that? What's important about knowing the Latin name is, let's take eucalyptus, for example. Traditionally out there you have Eucalyptus radiata, Eucalyptus globalis, Eucalyptus citriodora, and those are all different species of eucalyptus, and each one of them does a different thing in our body, and each one of them has different potency. For example, Eucalyptus radiata is known to be safer for children and the elderly because it's not quite as strong as, let's say, globalis. And they have different purposes. For example, Eucalyptus citriodora is fantastic for repelling insects, where the radiata wouldn't work quite so well at that. And so you want to make sure you have the Latin name so that you know what that essential oil will do. So you don't want to just go down to your local store and just buy a bottle of eucalyptus or a bottle of lavender, because there are so many different species and sometimes chemotypes of different essential oils. And a chemotype is, for example, take thyme oil. You have thyme, so the Latin name is Thymus vulgaris, but then you will have Thymus vulgaris chemotype linalool, which is very gentle thyme oil that is very safe for young children and the elderly. But then you have Thymus vulgaris chemotype Thymol, and how you'll see that on your bottle or on the little cards, it'll have a CT, and that stands for chemotype. And a chemotype is two plants that are actually the exact same plant, the exact same species, but they are grown in different areas of the world or in different altitudes, different soil types. And because of where they grow, they develop a different type of essential oil. And so you want to have the Latin name. You want to know what plant part it comes from. And an example of that would be cinnamon bark or cinnamon leaf. And cinnamon bark has a little bit more of a bite to it than the cinnamon leaf does. And so you want to know which plant part it comes from. You want to know how was the essential oils, how were they grown? Where were they grown? So for example, my three main places that I look for essential oils is, if it's farmed, I want it to be either farmed organically, where they have gone through all the processes to certify that that farm is organic, or another areas we call ethically farmed. And ethically farmed is when you have small farmers, mom and pop kind of farmers, or you have farmers that are in developing countries where the expense of the organic certification outweighs what they can get for the essential oil. And that cost then would be passed on to the consumer, and they probably would be willing to pay that extra expense. They would be, oh my gosh, that, who do you think you are that you could charge that much? Because getting organic certifications can be very time consuming and very expensive. And so you have to look at the individual farm and see, okay, if they don't have organic certification, why is that? And then the other thing that you want is, and one of my preferences is wildcrafted. And I actually got to participate in wildcrafting here locally, and it was so much fun. And that is where you go out and you actually harvest the plants out in the wild. Now, there is a caution with wildcrafting. You also want to know where you are getting the wildcrafting. For example, my husband likes to always use the example of the Chernobyl site, where the nuclear thing went off in over in Russia all those years ago. And he said, if lavender was growing wild around there and you picked it, would it still be good? And so, and so you do want to know where you're getting your oils, and what it really comes down to is, so you want to know that where you're getting them from, that they do say that they're getting it from those three sources. Now, what it really comes down to, unfortunately, in essential oils is it can be hard to prove those things. And so it comes down to, do you trust, do you know personally um, the company, and do they have a long history to where you can trust them? And then the other thing that you want is you want to know that the oil is being tested to look for adulterations, and also you want to know that someone is reading those gas chromatograms who knows how to read them. Because let's say you get an essential oil and it's organic and you check that off the list, you're like, yes. And it tells you what plant part, and you're like, yes. And it tells you another thing is country of origin. You want to be able to access country of origin. Now, in longevity, we do not have country of origin on any permanent thing. So we don't have it on the labels, and we don't have it on the cards. And the reason why we don't is because we're pretty dang picky, and we do not want to, we buy our labels and we print the cards a year in advance, but we could get a batch of essential oil from a supplier that we have trusted in the past. And it's not that we don't trust them, but maybe they had a certain batch that didn't meet our standards biochemically. And what I mean by that is, let's say that we have lavender. Let's take lavender, for example. We have lavender and we want the linalool acetate to be at a certain level, because if we have it at this certain level, it will produce these certain results in people's bodies if it's at this certain level. Or we can take oregano, for example. Oregano has carbachol in it, and carbachol is what makes oregano hot. And if we are going to have an oregano whose purpose is, let's say, to be a big antibacterial, antifungal, we may want the carbachol count to be at a certain high level. But if we are going to use the oregano on more like for children or for cooking purposes, then we may want the carbachol count to be lower, because we don't want it to have quite so much of a bite, but then we want the thymol count to be up higher. So having a gas chromatogram will tell you the country of origin. It'll tell you whether it was wildcrafted or whether it's organic. But if you don't already know the levels that you want those constituents to be, and what they would what they should be to produce the results that you want to see happen, because you told people that that's what that particular oil will do for them, then you also want to make sure that you have someone who is involved in the choosing of the essential oils, who knows those ratios, who knows where they should be. And so you want to make sure that there's someone at the helm that really can help you read those gas chromatograms. So you want to make sure these are your biggies, that you know the country of origin, that it has the Latin name in there, that has the plant part, and it tells you that it's been either wildcraft, organic, or ethically farmed. And you want to make sure that there is a gas chromatogram that is telling you not only whether it has been adulterated or not, but that the chemical constituents are at the levels to do the things you want that oil to do for you.
I I absolutely agree with you because I was introduced to essential oils when I was 15 years old. I worked at a like an all natural day spa, and they sold them and they used them in their practices. And I was the cashier, and I worked sort of the front part of the store of the spa. And one day, it was in the middle of the summer, because it was my summer job, I had the flu, and I was just so sick. Well, my mom was friends with the owner, and the owner gave her a bottle of lavender and a bottle of peppermint, and told my mom what to do. I couldn't stop throwing up. I had a fever. I was throwing up. My mom came home. She put one drop of the peppermint in a big pot of hot water, told me to sip it, and then took the lavender and rubbed it on my chest. I stopped throwing up. I immediately fell asleep, and I woke up. The fever was gone, and I was better. And I just could not believe it. And from that moment on, I believed in essential oils. And in the past, when I've had a cut that turned into an infection, I'd use tea tree oil. And before I knew about longevity, I would just use any old tea tree oil I could buy in the store. And I noticed that there were times that it didn't work, or it didn't work as well. And so I began to think, well, maybe it's the quality of the brand. I really need to look into and find a better brand. Since you started using longevity, have you been happy with the difference in quality and the standards that longevity essential oils has versus other brands?
Yes, and I guess I'm biased because I participate in the choosing of the essential oils at Longevity. I've been privileged to be able to participate in that. They've allowed me to participate in that. And but I will tell you this, when I first joined Longevity, I want to tell you a story really quick if I can.
Sure, please do.
So when I first joined Longevity, I joined because someone just said, "Hey, this is a great company, and you should think about joining it." So I did, and I said, "Well," they said, "and we have essential oils here," and I said, "Well, we sort of have our own little mom and pop essential oils thing. My husband and I, we're perfectly happy with the oils that we get, and so, I'd be interested in your nutritional products, but." I'm really happy with the oils that we get. And I love teaching, and I want to have an aromatherapy school, which I do now. I have an online aromatherapy school so people can become a certified aromatherapist. And that was my dream 2 years ago, which now is becoming a reality. But back then, I ordered what they call the CEO Mega Pack that had the healthy body packs. And I took those products and I got some really fantastic results from their nutritional products. Then one day, it was about 3 months after I had signed up, I got a phone call that they were doing an event down in Las Vegas, and the person who was supposed to be teaching the essential oils training was not able to come. And they had heard that I knew something about essential oils, and they asked me if I would be willing to fill in because they had already advertised that there was going to be an essential oils class, and if I would go down and teach it. Now, up to this time, I had not used any of Longevity's essential oils at all because I was perfectly happy with the ones I had that my husband and I were sourcing on our own. So I said, sure. And I said, these are the oils that I'm going to need for you to have there when I get there. And I told them 7 different oils that I wanted them to have there. I told them I wanted to be at peace blend birch, marjoram, lemongrass, ravensara, cypress, and rose geranium. And I, so I had those 7 oils there, and I made a little brochure, a little flyer about what I was going to be teaching. I was going to be teaching a little program that I knew called, and I named it the Results Now program. And it's mostly for pain or stress relief. And so I went down there to teach this class. Now I was supposed to have 45 minutes to teach this class, but the person who was speaking in front of me took way over, like a half an hour over. And I was only going to get 15 minutes to teach this class. And I had never even opened up a bottle of longevity essential oils yet. And here I was going to be teaching this class. And I just said a little prayer in my heart. And I said, Heavenly Father, if these are good essential oils, then we better see some results. Otherwise, I'm out of here and I'm never going to teach an oils class for longevity again. So I was up at the front of the room and I asked if anybody was in pain, and two women raised their hands, and I did not have time to put all 7 oils on them. I brought them up to the front of the room and I had them take their shoes off, and I teach a very, very simple way to use essential oils. I say just take the lid off, smell the cap, put 1 drop on the bottom of each foot. I tell people to put it along the crease of the big toe. I call it the neck of the big toe, up to the end of the big toe, down the arch, down to the heel. Walk around for a few seconds to get the essential oils moving through your body, because your heart's a one-way pump. It only pumps blood out. You need muscle movement to pump blood back. And so I have these ladies. One lady told me her pain level from a scale from 0 to 10, that it was clear up at a 10. She was in excruciating pain. The other lady, I believe she told me it was an 8. So I put the first oil on them, which was the blend to be at peace. And I brought their pain level down about 4 points, each of them. And just from a few seconds of being on their body. Then I had time to do 1 more oil, and one woman, I believe, got completely out of pain, and the other one had brought it down from like an 8 down to a 2. And then I said, I'm terribly sorry. The other speaker took all of my time. We would normally put the rest of the 7 oils on, but this shows you how incredibly fantastic the quality of longevity essential oils are, and why I will always be buying them.
Amazing. Did you get a standing ovation?
I think I did, actually. And that was the beginning for me. I was like, these oils are as good as the oils that my husband and I take all the time to source on our own for our family. And I was like, I'm sold. And I just told them, I said, I want to teach for you. I want to create my school. I want to be, and then the next thing I knew, I was telling them we need to do what now has become the Aromatherapy Club. And so we have that now. And when you came to my class, did you sing our song?
Uh, no, I don't remember a song.
Okay, well, if you don't mind, I'm going to teach everyone a song to sing.
Okay,
So
sounds great.
I do not have a degree in singing. So those of you who maybe be a lot better at singing than me, that's okay, because you're not supposed to. I'm not here to entertain you. I'm here to teach you. So it goes to the tune, My Darling Clementine. And if you guys will sing this song with me when you listen to this podcast, you will know how to use essential oils. Now, this is how it goes. I made up the song on the way down to that very first class in the car driving from Utah down to Vegas. And this is how it goes. Grab the bottle, grab the bottle, grab the bottle real quick. Take the lid off, take the lid off, take the lid off, and take a sniff. Just a little drop, and your symptoms won't show. Just a little drop, and put it on your big toe.
That's amazing. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. Wow. Well, so I mean, I have been constantly impressed by Longevity's essential oils. They seem like a sleeper product, like a sleeper line. I mean, no one raves about them enough, and I know you do, and now I am, and I'm so glad we're teaching people about essential oils. Can you share with us another story about how essential oils have impacted your life, or even as a mom, you have 9 kids. How do you use essential oils in your life as a mom?
Well, first of all, we do exactly how the song said, and I have several photographs that were spontaneous photographs of my grandchildren just taking, if someone else got hurt and they They go and grab a bottle of essential oil. We have a photograph of a 2-year-old putting essential oils, a 3-year-old putting essential oils on a 2-year-old, I believe. And it was a spontaneous picture that my daughter took of her two girls. And the one is smelling the cap, and the other one is putting a little drop on the bottom of her feet. Because that is, to me, the safest way to use them. And you don't have to worry how sensitive is the person's skin and all of that if you just always apply them to the bottom of the feet. And so when someone is first using an essential oil that they've never used, I always recommend that they start out that way. So if they're going to have any kind of reaction, it will be very limited by doing it that way. But with that said, we use it in every way you can think of. We put it in food recipes. We put them in bath salts. We put them in our hot tub. We sprinkle them in the bottom of the shower before we get in. On occasion, not very often, we will make a tea because I'm not a real huge advocate of strong internal usage because I follow the admonition of the National Association of Holistic Aromatherapists and the Alliance of International Aromatherapists, which I am the Utah State representative for. And that is that internal usage should be very limited. So I do use it in food recipes, but when you think about one drop, which is all you really need for an entire food recipe, that's extremely diluted usage versus when I was with other companies, we would teach very high dosage internal usage of like putting 10 to 20 drops in a capsule and swallowing them 3 to 4 times a day. That is so dangerous for your liver. So please, 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 if you're listening to this and you're doing that, stop it.
No kidding.
The other thing that I would like to tell people right now is a little story of when I first started using essential oils. And this teaches the importance of safety. And I know there's a lot of, there seems to be two far ends of the spectrum when it comes to essential oil safety. You have what I call network marketing essential oil aromatherapy, and that is anything goes. Anything goes. Pour it down your throat, smear it all over your body undiluted, do whatever, and it'll all be okay. And then you have people clear on the other far spectrum, which I have been on both ends of these. My husband says I'm like a pendulum and I just swing from one extreme to the other, but I eventually settle down in the middle. And so the other far extreme is, oh my gosh, essential oils are so dangerous. Nobody should use them. They're going to kill you if you're not careful. And so I have found myself here in the middle. But I'm going to tell you a little story that my first experience with essential oils. So my first experience was I was an herbalist and I thought they were the stupidest thing on the planet. My sister-in-law brought me some essential oils. She brought me frankincense and tea tree. And she told me how much they were, and I just about fell off my chair. And I was like, that much for that little tiny bottle? She's like, they're super concentrated. And what I teach people now is think of essential oils as the frozen orange juice concentrate of health. And you would not take a can of frozen orange juice and just with a spoon, every single time you wanted orange juice, you just get that can out and you just eat a whole can of frozen orange juice. You would not do that. You would mix it in some water because you want orange juice. And the same thing goes with essential oils. These are concentrated, extremely concentrated. And so mix them in something else. So anyways, and that way, one bottle really can become 10 or 20 bottles if you dilute essential oils correctly. And in my book, I have actually the dilution chart in there twice so that you can't say you missed it. And I have it at the beginning of the book and somewhere about halfway through, the about 2/3 of the way again. And so I had this frankincense and this tea tree, and I was she convinced me that I should use them. But they cost me so much money that I was afraid to use them. I was going to wait until a big disaster happened. And so I had them sitting on my dresser. And one night my husband woke up from an earache. Now, This man is a farmer, as you said, and he's also a man that has almost completely severed his leg off with a skill saw and drove himself to the hospital. So that's his high pain tolerance. So when he woke me up with an earache, I knew that this was pretty bad. But I was super excited because I remembered that tea tree oil was good for earaches. And so being the good wife I was going to get rid of that earache. And so I was super excited. So I ran to my dresser, got my bottle of tea tree, had him lay his head on the pillow with his ear facing me, and proceeded to put several drops of tea tree straight into his ear.
Ouch.
Now, this was my first lesson on essential oil safety firsthand. When my husband leaped off of that bed, running around with his hand over his ear, screaming at the top of his lungs, I knew that that probably was not something I was supposed to do. But I didn't know what to do. And so he ran, of course, to the bathroom like anyone would do, because you want that out of your ear. So he put his head underneath the faucet, turned that water on, and poured that water down into his ear. Now, this is the second rule of safety. When you get essential oils somewhere where it's causing pain to you, the last thing you want to do is use water to get rid of it. Because what water does with aromatherapy is drive an essential oil into your body even farther and make them even stronger. If they burn, they're going to burn more. If they're gentle, they're going to be, more healing. Even though we're not supposed to use that word, it'll just, push it into your body. That's why people take aromatherapy baths, because the water is driving that oil into their body. But when he turned that water into his ear, it made it hurt 10 times worse. And the other thing it did is that some of the tea tree did overflow out of his ear and down into his eye. So then he was running around screaming in his underwear with one ear over his ear, hand over his ear, another hand over his eye, running around the room screaming at the top of his lungs. And I still didn't know what to do for him. And then I remembered someone had told me about carrier oils. And for the life of me, at first, I thought of that was like a disease. Carrier, someone is a carrier. You carry that disease. But then I was like, okay, carrier oil. I just remembered oil. And all I had on hand was like, this was before I ate as healthy as I should. Course, and I had canola oil because back then I thought canola oil was healthy for you. And so I poured that canola oil in his ear and in his eye, and it did help stop the pain. So that was my first experience with essential oils, ever using them. And I learned a very important lesson. Never put essential oils in your ears. If you get essential oil somewhere that it causes some kind of pain or irritation, never use water. Use some kind of carrier oil, preferably grapeseed oil or jojoba or coconut oil, something like that. And never put essential oils in your eyes. But with all that said, if you accidentally do, remember that the carrier oil will remove the pain, and you will probably not have permanent damage, because so far he can see and he can hear, except for when he doesn't want to listen to me.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for letting us know about to take this seriously, because I think that some people think essential oils are some kind of frou-frou thing that you have at a spa, and they don't realize it is a very potent way to use herbal medicine and that it should be taken seriously. So thank you.
Yes. And, I use essential oils for everything from, smashing my thumb with a hammer to colds, to get rid of wrinkles, to get rid of dandruff, to help my hair softer, to reduce stress, to help remember things. My daughter just barely took her test to become a CNA. She was having a hard time memorizing things, and I said, you need to Use some rosemary oil and some lemon oil, because lemon oil helps activate the left side of your brain. And she was having a hard time memorizing all of these facts. And so happy to say that she did pass her test the other day, and super excited about that.
Awesome. Very cool. Well, we're just unfortunately, we have to wrap this up. I definitely want to have you back on the show because you're such a wealth of knowledge. I know that our listeners will definitely love learning from you again. But before you go, two things. One, please share your website again with our listeners. And then also, could you leave us with a challenge, something that you can challenge the listeners to do starting now and for the next 7 days to improve their health?
All right. Okay, so my website is leiannking.com, Leiannking, leiannking.com. And the website to get the free ebook, we need to get a link on leiannking.com for that. We don't yet, but it's foundationalaromatherapy.com/ebook. And my challenge to you would be to pick either lemon oil or orange oil, whichever side you want to develop. So let's say that you want to develop the left side of your brain. Then I challenge you to smell some lemon oil and put a drop on each of your big toes and see, especially if you have a better time with facts and figures, maybe you want to balance your checkbook, something like that. Challenge you to do something left-brained. Or I challenge you to use orange oil. And orange oil, what orange oil will do is it helps develop the right side of your brain and do something creative. Now, with that said, I also want to talk about the other uses of each of those oils. Lemon oil is very good to help with antibacterial and for cheering you up and helping you to have a sunny disposition. Orange oil is also very good for cheering you up. But the other thing that orange oil is very good is for helping to regulate your thyroid. So a lot of people have thyroid issues. We're usually too high or too low. There's very few of us nowadays that, even if it doesn't show up on your blood tests. So if you're a little too high strung, see if using orange oil will help calm you down. And if you tend to be tired a lot, see if that gives you a little bit of energy. And let us know.
Thank you so much, Leiann. I have learned so much, and I've been using essential oils for years. So thank you so much for coming on the show. And I look forward to having you on the show again.
I'd love to. Thank you so much, Ashley. Grab the bottle, grab the bottle, grab the bottle real quick. Take the lid off, take the lid off, take the lid off, and take a sniff. Just a little drop, and your symptoms won't show. Just a little drop, and put it on your big toe.
Are you looking to optimize your health? Are you looking to get the best supplements at the lowest price? For high-quality supplements and to talk to someone about what supplements are best for you, go to takeyoursupplements.com, and one of our fantastic True Health coaches will help you pick out the right supplements for you that are the highest quality and the best price. That's takeyoursupplements.com. Takeyoursupplements.com. That's takeyoursupplements.com. Be sure to ask about free shipping and our awesome referral program.